Hiya! Welcome to this, my 67th episode of VideoFuzzy. I'm your host, Terry J. Aman, sifting my basket of media memories, and in this installment, titled, Let's Talk About This, I encounter a fairly topical episode of Criminal Minds. I find what sounds to me like a misdelivered line in The West Wing, a whole bunch of movies, nerd shows, and a couple of cool summer returns. Welcome to the show! He doesn't have that on video, does he? We'll find out together on VideoFuzzy. In what's going on with me, seriously, it has been a crazy past couple of weeks trying to record this thing. At first we had, Happy Birthday, America. I know you're another year older because days later you were still blowing the candles out. Seriously, what you're hearing was from my usual recording space, not a firing range, not actually outside. This was audio bleed from the 4th of July in a residential neighborhood, right up until about 1:30, at which point, I kid you not, the thunderstorms rolled in. Not a restful night. And then we had all of this going on. This is actually good news. We finished getting the new roof on our 100-year-old home. It's just the latest in a series of projects we pursued at this fixer-upper. You'll recall a few summers ago we needed to replumb the place. Well, now we've reshingled it. I love it, and it looks amazing now, but yeah, no, I wasn't going to be competing with that noise. In the meantime, I was able to catalog through disc 950. This set included a lot of episodes of The West Wing, along with a few dedicated tapes of The Simpsons, including the Bart in a Boy Band episode about subliminal recruitment for the armed forces. Join the Navy.
Friday Night Feature.
And on disc 927, I encountered a 4th season episode of Criminal Minds titled Brothers in Arms. It opens adorably with a grumpy cop in Phoenix, Arizona, training the rookie assigned to be his partner and being a little gruff and judgy about how green and unprepared he is when they are called to respond to a domestic disturbance. They drive up to the address. They head for the door, but the rookie, oh geez, sorry sir, sorry, goes back for his mag light. A hooded figure emerges from the shadows and fires on the cop, then turns on the terrified rookie, murdering him as well. Cue the opening sequence, and this quote. We are all brothers under the skin, and I for one would be willing to skin humanity to prove it. Ayn Rand. Ooh, edgy. The Behavioral Analysis Unit flies in to assist in the investigation, only to be confronted by a wall of blue rage, including Mark Pellegrino as Lieutenant Evans, a twitchy, cynical police liaison, fresh from notifying the late senior officer's wife. With the 2 in the domestic response, that's 3 officers targeted in 4 days, and the entire department is wigging out. The FBI suspects serial killer rather than gang activity because the unsub, as this show refers to the unknown subject, is taking trophies, the badges. Gangs don't usually take trophies, asserts Shamar Moores, former cop and Special Agent Derek Morgan. They don't need to. Also, wouldn't that be a fun evidence cache for investigators to find? In establishing a pattern, Tech Consult Garcia pulls up images from the past few months, finding another fallen officer shot in the neck. Mon Dieu. As if that's not bad enough, which it's plenty. He was a single parent of 2 girls. As the investigation continues, the chief says they're wasting their time. The officers are upset by their presence, he says, and feel it's an insult to their ability to solve this case. Also, chief's facing pressure from media and city officials. In case after case of Maricopa County law enforcement officials responding to random calls and being targeted, pulls in local gangbanger Playboy for the murders, stitching together a barely there fig leaf of pretext to pull him in for questioning. Playboy's got motive. His bestie was murdered, similar MO to the cops, shot in the neck and his gold chain taken. Morgan connects with Playboy, urging Evans to consider the circumstances. The unsub they're tracking is responding to power, authority, setting up increasingly complicated scenarios to target his prey. They trace his earliest activity to a bar bouncer involved in a super-secret fight club, where apparently this scrawny, scrappy little guy, nicknamed Animal, propelled further in flashbacks by an abusive father, tried taking on big, tough guys who frankly dominated him, including this bouncer, who he then targeted, murdering him in the parking lot at the bar. Profile established, Supervisory Special Agent Aaron Hotchner draws Animal out with a press conference announcing that the feds are taking over the investigation, making himself Animal's best target. They mock up a response, exposing Hotch to an attack, and Animal takes the bait. He is nabbed. They take him down in the parking lot outside the police station and arrest him. But we all forgot about Playboy. Playboy is hiding out among the crowd in the parking lot. He takes his moment and fires on Animal for killing his bestie. Which, I'll start here. The cops were setting Animal up, didn't coordinate their efforts with local gang leaders, yet Playboy knew to be hanging out in the police station parking lot that night to get a shot at Animal. Prior to that, gang leader Playboy, complete in his full-dress wife-beater, was hiding out unquestioned among the crowd in Joe Arpaio land, was he? True enough, everyone in that parking lot wanted this cop killer dead. So did vast swaths of this audience. He'd murdered cops. A little baby rookie cop. He murdered single dad cops. Single dads of daughters. It was okay, too, because we'd watched him commit those crimes. We knew he was guilty, however his pathology developed, whatever had triggered it. Everyone wanted him dead, but they'd have to settle for the courts to... Oh, hey, direct retribution. A gangbanger jackarubies him in the parking lot. So much more satisfying. Initially, I was thinking this episode was way too topical for a feature, honestly. The tenor of Criminal Minds is quite raw for law enforcement generally, in an episode where an unsub is targeting Phoenix police officers in the 2008 universe where Maricopa County and Joe Arpaio is headline news, and the testosterone high-wire tension, cops busting gangbangerangers and super-secret fight clubs and city parking garages. We've got all the CBS viewers cuddling their kitties under their hand-knitted Afghans. Oh, Tittles, stay close! Even with Spencer Reed pointing out in a throwaway line that the unsub could be targeting cops as another highly armed gang of thugs, what we've got is like scene after scene of strong, mostly white officers, boys in blue, so good, so true, responding to radio calls and being targeted by a CBS trademarked accept no substitutes bad guy, hooded figure, menacing, cowardly. Officers are positioned against gang members are snarling at cops. It's 42 minutes of... Oh wow, in 2008 they're also pulling in Fight Club from like a decade before. It's just like, wind up your snarling dogs. And the potential unsub calls himself Animal, trying to prove himself, losing, getting ridiculed, getting dominated, coming back with a gun, lingering over the dead bodies, proving his power over life and death. Joe Mantegna's team leader Rossi broods. He's smart. He's fearless. And the soaring violins at the fallen officer's funeral, Morgan assuring the boy his father was a hero, and they caught the bad guy. And the voiceover intoning, for he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Shakespeare. Like this friggin' meat grinder was important. You know what? Yeah. We're gonna get into this. This episode just throws raw steak and whiskey and ghost peppers into a blender for rough, tough law and order types. Good cops versus strike force demons from hell. Little guy gets humiliated in a fight club and his Napoleon complex blows him up into a serial killer and the stuff of nightmares within a month or so. Cops gotta lash out. Get the bad guys. All of them. Grab your guns and let's go! This is one view of police in this country. It's one that sells a lot of cars. It sells a lot of fear. On CBS, any given evening, you can watch how hoodlums and drug addicts and dirty, filthy illegals are propagating mindless chaos for no reason other than to destabilize law and order for good, decent, hard-working United States of American citizens. 2008, 2020, absolutely no difference in the narrative. In this case, it was because the CBS trademark bad guy was emasculated by real men at fight club after hours in a parking ramp. I can't tell you how many times I've been trying to park my car someplace and all these rock-hard studs are beating the crap out of each other, just shedding teeth and blood left and right because they're men. And this angry little cop killer with the .357 Magnum was a wuss and a loser. He was humiliated in a parking garage dust-up calling himself Animal, and they laughed at him. They laughed at him. And so he shot a bouncer in the neck, the one who beat him up, and gave him a wedgie, and targeted a gang leader, and then cops, because that's how serial killers work. Life's cheap for that type. And then the FBI agents, because TV. Oh, the officers good and true responding to the incident. So why they take their lives in their hands with every call they respond to. Oh, the chaos in which we'd live without them. And, okay, we've followed this team for years, but they fly in and fix everything week after week. Forgive the local constabulary who have had to learn a thing or two about responding to crime in these neighborhoods. Bless me, every instinct they profess is wrong, but they're still the most awesome people, for sure, and all the CBS viewers sigh and cross themselves and sing hallelujah, and I'm sitting over here looking at this and thinking, what the actual hell? Shifting focus for a moment, this episode's discussion of law enforcement in 2008 would unfold naturally enough into our current conversation, starting with Reed's comment that the serial killer is approaching the cops like just another heavily armed gang with similarly shortened life expectancy to gang members. We look at the chief's concern with public pressure and Lieutenant Evans' willingness to ignore expert advice and pull in gang leaders because, yeah, it's probably gang leaders. The behavioral analysis unit bent over backwards to convince the Phoenix police that they were only there to assist, but they could so easily have profiled their behavior. They're scared, authoritarian, and heavily armed, and they're convinced they know better than highly trained experts, with a lot of pressure on them to arrest people the public sees as disruptive. A shooting took place, and there was a gang tag there. The gang is responsible. I don't know what more investigation you even need. Why are we even talking about this? The conversation we as citizens need to have regarding the role of law enforcement in our society lies somewhere between this Criminal Minds episode from 2008 depicting officers as helpless victims of lawless citizenry and the video I saw of riot gear-clad response to the Elijah McClain vigil in Aurora, Colorado last month. And wow, seriously? In the time it's taken to finish writing this, NPR is reporting Department of Homeland Security personnel attacking medical response, gassing protesters, and kidnapping citizens right off the streets in Portland, Oregon. But it is clearly a conversation we need to be having. When your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But we can grow beyond a whack-hammer-armed response to everything. And society is more complicated than that. We must develop a more nuanced range of response patterns. No police officer's lives should be endangered in keeping us safe, though we know they will be at times in harm's way. Better, more comprehensive training should assist in facing down deadly force. At the same time, the entire community must be safe from police brutality, use of force disproportionate to situations encountered, and certainly from a response that can't differentiate between a rioting mob and a candlelight vigil. We've just got to do better. It is way past time. Cross connection. Now, in terms of Studio 6 Feet Under, Criminal Minds isn't that hard to track. Special Agent Emily Prentice, Paget Brewster, appeared last year in 3 episodes of Mom with Allison Janney, who appeared in The West Wing with Studio 60's Bradley Whitford. Same link to guest star Mark Pellegrino. He was Jacob in Lost and shared a scene with Janney there too. In other sightings, I found Mary Gross in the 2nd season episode of Life as Maud Paxton. The episode was called Canyon Flowers. Tracing a theme, Mary was in 6 Feet Under as a floral instructor in a 1st season episode called The Trip. The Life episode she was in opened on a murder victim found buried to his neck at the center of a bunch of dianthus flower petals, themselves arranged in the form of a flower. Energy-wise, she also strikes me as an affordable Ellen Green, Vivian Charles from Pushing Daisies, and Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. I also found the Leverage episode with Michael O'Neill in it, the bank shot job. I traced O'Neill as a golden thread last time, and speaking of Leverage cross connections, I ran into Scott Lowell in the Crossing episode of Criminal Minds on the same disc 938, as the miracle job in Leverage. What a tiny little universe. Finally, I saw James Denton of Desperate Housewives in a second season episode of The West Wing, as well as John Larroquette from all over the place, but most directly in Boston Legal. I also found Noel, marking the first appearance by Adam Arkin in The West Wing, a psychological thrill ride, to say the very least.
Golden thread.
Adam Arkin is, I wasn't going to do this time, and frankly I need to expand this segment. It's like, golden thread, what white male am I featuring this time? For sure it'd be fun to explore a broader range of people, but he showed up, he's in front of me. Arkin is an amazing actor, and clicking around IMDb, he just keeps showing up all over the place in my media collection, so off we go. Starting as usual with stuff I much more likely saw him in than actually have in my collection. Arkin in the 1970s was in Happy Days and Y-5-0 and that searing New York cop drama Barney Miller. He was in the Twilight Zone 80s reboot, he was in MacGyver, and I see where he was Jamie Lee Curtis of Knives Out and Halloween H2O, so with his work on The West Wing, that's a pretty direct link for Knives Out Studio 60. Oh, anyway, he also appeared in the 200th episode of Frasier, and now we're getting to stuff I've probably archived. I mentioned running into his work on The West Wing here. He was in Monk, he was in The Practice, he was in Commander-in-Chief, he was in Boston Legal, so barely a step removed from 6 Feet Under as well. He played a neo-Nazi with Henry Rollins in Sons of Anarchy, he played a formerly bad guy accountant in Life, he was in The Closer, he was in Justified, he was in the second season of Fargo on FX, which I don't have yet, but I plan to at some point. Arkin has a strong, solid intensity. He's capable of transforming across a broad range of energy per the characters he's building. I won't say he sticks the landing 100% of the time, but he does not do anything half-assed, and it's clear when he's having fun as well. Great vibe. It's always good to see him and stuff.
Diving into my classic collection.
Beyond what I already mentioned up there, I didn't track a whole lot more of my Classic VHS-to-DVD collection. My cataloging uncovered a few dedicated tapes of the Simpsons episodes, and expanding on a theme from Criminal Minds, I ran into a 20th season episode from 2008 called My Pods and Boomsticks, which included commentary on other Fox productions like 24, highlighting tensions created by negative media images of other cultures. Bart befriends a Muslim boy, and based otherwise on nothing, Homer is determined to believe the worst about him and his family. It's pretty broad, but if you had any doubts about what the Simpsons production team thought about it, this one should have put them to bed. It was fun to watch a whole slug of Simpsons episodes this time as I was cataloging them. I also ran into the season 12 episode Children of a Lesser Clod, which featured Professor Frank's tennis shoes infused with flubber, and away I go. Oh, this is frightening. Oh, that was painful. The flubber is burning my feet. Yep, I do all my own Foley work. You're welcome. I also encountered a second season episodes of Skins, which was quite cool. Driven overachiever Jall's pregnancy test came back positive. She can't tell the father, a squishy weirdo named Chris. She hasn't told anyone who matters. A health consult, a couple of friends, yeah, even her family, or rather her father, who has been so controlling. She finally stands up to him, but it's Cass, the puck of the group, who actually knows what's up. Cassie lets Jal know that she knows by pretending to be Jal. Cass has her own news about Chris that she needs to tell her, but Jal is so focused on exams and how she's going to deal with the pregnancy that she can't actually talk to Chris yet. She's also in complete denial about the disruption a pregnancy would cause her plans for college. And once she just started getting a handle on that, her all but absent mother returns. Her mother abandoned her because she couldn't deal. Jal is not okay with that, but pockets the information. Rather, she uses her Spanish oral exam as an opportunity to work through her feelings re her pregnancy. Some of them, anyway. Had she told Chris, he could have shared this information. He had a brother who died of a brain hemorrhage, and it's hereditary. So their child might be deathly ill, stillborn in fact. Trouble is, he tells her by collapsing from it, and when she's talking to him on his way to surgery, he's nearly out from anesthesia. Skins has excellent storylines, it has ridiculous storylines, and it has weak ones. It feels like that Joel, Cassie, and Shell storylines are the strongest, the Sid ones were the weakest, and the Tony ones were the most ridiculous. But yeah, really, this one focused on the top achiever trying to get into the best school while dealing with the pressure cooker of exams and the realities of being pregnant. That was some of the best writing in a teen drama I've ever seen. I know I've been dismissive of Skins in the past, and that requires some re-examination. They did manage some excellent work from time to time. Other things that turned up, I found a Muppets Christmas special that aired on NBC in 2008. I found the South Park Christmas in Canada episode they structured pretty much like The Wizard of Oz in their attempt to return native Canadian-born Ike to his adoptive family, the Broflovskis. I found an episode of The Simpsons where Homer gave a sponge bath to a naked hobo, and I found a Christmas episode of Psych where we learned that Sean once dated Gus's sister, Joy, and the entry on IMDb and the Psych wiki indicated we saw Gus's sister, Joy, exactly once over the course of the entire series. And I keep encountering the West Wing episode Take This Sabbath Day in this collection. I feel like I must have missed a chapter or something, but for whatever reason I've got it at least 3 times. Once among my DVD sets, thanks Dad, that was a gift from my dad. Once on disc 906, and once again on disc 941. And yeah, it's significant for several reasons I've spoken about. It marks the first appearance of Marlee Matlin as political consultant Joey Lucas, a brief love interest for Josh Lyman. It marks the final appearance of Carl Malden in anything, according to IMDb. Cast here is Jed Bartlett's priest and spiritual advisor. But in cataloging it for this entry, this is the first time I encountered it as the presentation of that rarest of things, a misdelivered line in a Sorkin production. Yep, you heard me. Richard Schiff as Toby attends temple in the wake of the Supreme Court's refusal to stay the execution of a drug dealer, and the rabbi is making his displeasure known, exerting what pressure he's able. Toby stops back at temple Sunday morning, where a cantor, played by Ellen Sugarman, is practicing the Hashkavenio, let us sleep peacefully, ahead of its presentation for a funeral. Toby speaks with his rabbi, David Preval, as Rabbi Glassman, about the appointed nature of his sermon the night before, and Rabbi Glassman indeed hoped to convey that message through Toby to the White House. It's the first season, possible people don't know. Toby highlights his title as communications director and the limits of his influence over White House policy. Rabbi Glassman waves this aside, along with Toby's observation the Torah does not forbid capital punishment. Glassman points out that whatever the Torah might say regarding capital punishment, it is wrong by any modern standard. As the music swells, he notes that society has a right to defend itself, but not for vengeance. To punish, but not to kill. Toby lightly asserts Glassman knew he'd be coming back, and that he'd staged the cantor singing this beautiful song. Glassman says, "She's our communications director." Flat! Who directed this? The clear parallel you're going for is, she's our communications director. Dude, you got credits going back to the early 70s. You're better than this. There's a song running behind it. It's possible they were mixing it live. There's no way to correct this flat-footed mistake, but it's Aaron Sorkin, this whole episode exploring the death penalty. He's got Carl Malden on this, and the man would call places on an eclipse. It's even possible that Rob Lowe as Sam Seaborn may have had one. It's little, but end of his conversation with Leo McGarry, he's all worked up, demanding to see the president. Leo blocks him, says he's done. The president is done. And he's angry. Leo says the court was supposed to stay the execution while the president was traveling overseas. The ruling came out of nowhere. This was never supposed to have happened. Sam asks, what would Leo have done differently? Kept the president out of the country for another 2 days? Leo nods, and Sam says, there are times. He is all worked up, and the energy for the scene has to go somewhere. And Rob seems not to know what he's meant to be conveying with this line. There are times when we are absolutely nowhere. All the words are there, but the context, the conceit that when the president is in the air on a plane overseas, he's outside the reach of comment on U.S. politics, because in that moment he is absolutely nowhere. The line would be, Leo, there are times when we are absolutely nowhere. Never happens. Misdelivered lines never in this overwritten show, micromanaged by a perfectionist. In an episode with such high stakes, I encountered 2 of these things? That's, well, nothing for it. Just gotta finish that degree, fly to Hollywood, and direct. What could I do, though? Scrap lines here and there. The West Wing is masterful storytelling. Second season opener, In the Shadow of Two Gunmen. Toby finds Josh shot, calls for a medic as Josh collapses, and damn it, sitting here watching it, I know he's okay. He's going to be fine. At that moment, we've got 6 more seasons of The West Wing, and Josh Lyman is in all of them. Not to mention that cheesy mustache and The Good Guys, and he's also going to be Danny Tripp. He's going to be Hadley in Cabin in the Woods. He's going to be the evil dad in Get Out, and never you mind. He was lying there, open on the operating table, and I was on the edge of my edge watching those scenes. Damn, but Sorkin knows how to open a season. A few other West Wing notes. I found recent Golden Thread Michael O'Neill noted his appearance at Leverage. This set as Secret Service agent Rod Butterfield. That guy has some outstanding presentation and delivery. Toby's trying to apologize for limiting the Secret Service protection detail in the wake of the shooting and attack on the president and his family, and Butterfield is waving it off. Toby had 0 to do with it, he said. Regardless of the directive, Ron and his people would always keep him safe. As he told Toby, I will never let you not let me do my job. Just wow. And John Billingsley showed up in Season 2's Big Block of Cheese episode of The West Wing as a map maker for social justice. Absolutely freaked me out by flipping the map of the world so the southern hemisphere was to the north, along with the projection they used to make Europe about a quarter more constrained vertically than it's generally expressed. And I was like, whoa, that was wild. Also, watching a bunch in a row, these early season conversations between Martin Sheen and Stockard Channing are outstanding, especially with her character's underlying irritation with his character seeking re-election. It's so fantastic watching people who are this good at it being this good at it, you know? As my cataloging efforts drew to a close for this effort, I found my copy of the Season 2 premiere of Damages. Rose Byrne, Glenn Close, Ted Danson. Really, at the time, I found this drama to be so compelling. A huge part of that was the flashback, flash-forward structure they employed, kept us guessing as to the plotting and motivations and who these people ultimately were to each other. I'd say it was an organizing principle that had its time and place. Damages kept its target tight, its objectives manageable, and, while ambitious, kept most of the promises it made. End of Season 1, it had not answered anything like all of the questions we had about who Patty Hughes was. Rose was gaining a little dimension, but where we seemed to be falling apart a bit was Ted Danson as Arthur Frobisher. He was still alive somehow, recovering in a hospital, which opens every conceivable question about his insurance and finances, particularly in the wake of his mole/double agent/fixer Jelko Ivanik's Ray Fisk character's violent demise. It is so hard to watch Ted Danson, Michael as Frobisher, you know? I can accept Glenn Close in damn near any role I see her in. Rose Byrne, Ivanik, William Hurt, all of these people, but Ted Danson as being a pure manipulative evil is like learning that Tom Hanks did something. That's from most recently loving him as a demon. Well, a reformed demon, but still, I know he's also in the 2nd season of Fargo, and that disc set is on its way.
Call this meeting to order. Calling up a little old business.
Speaking of disc sets, I pulled up my copy of the 2nd season of Pushing Daisies, featuring Kristen Chenoweth as Olive Snook bursting into song Eternal Flame by the Bangles at the end of the Core-to-Core baking competition in comfort food. In my last episode, I noted it was very disruptive to have Ned continually interrupt her otherwise beautiful rendition of that song, and wondered aloud if it perhaps had been included as an Easter egg on the disc set. No such luck. That is, if Kristen Chenoweth as Olive Snook is featured on the Pushing Daisies 2nd season disc set singing Eternal Flame by the Bangles uninterrupted by Ned the Pie Maker, that Easter egg has, sad to say, remained hidden for me. Quel dommage. I will say the disruptions did seem slightly less disruptive upon second viewing, although that could well have been because this time I was ready for them. Either way, it was a fun excuse to watch Kristen sing some more.
Nerd Show!
Haven't had any of these for a while, but on Disc 926 I encountered an episode of The Universe that talked about sex in space. For 42 minutes, scientific consultants and advisors and an author speculated, demurred, and broadly hinted that while everyone involved in spaceflight would never do anything that could jeopardize their chances for a return mission, these are also adventurous people in peak physical condition. Despite inherent lack of privacy aboard spacecraft, some assert it must actually have happened already. Naturally, Buzz and Neil's diaries are silent on the matter. More realistically, we're talking about longer-term missions aboard shuttles and space stations. NASA's actually launched a married couple into space, newlyweds in fact, though from all accounts they declined to become the answer to this particular trivia question, or in any event to confirm it. There was some speculation as to whether Russian cosmonauts had ever managed a docking procedure, given the informality of some of their space missions and cultural candor, but no one was able to confirm that for this production either. Along with idle gossip, according to this episode, officially no one's ever had sex in space, and a few clips of astronauts having fun spinning around in zero-G, the episode discuss logistics, not just for how closely all missions account for everyone's time aloft, but rather what the Rocky Horror Picture Show refers to as dynamic tension, how two or more would accomplish this feat in a zero-G environment. One author referred obliquely to handholds or straps to hold one, both, or all partners in place. One designer discussed a sort of spacesuit built for two, which she called a two-suit, and looking ahead to commercial spaceflight, the concept of a snuggle tunnel that would provide freedom of movement for all participants while countering the issues of sex in a zero-G environment and Newton's third law of motion. Fascinating. Well, as with anything else, the sufficiently motivated will find a way.
Checking out my current collection.
And now, finally, some words about my current direct-to-DVD collection. I'll be approaching this one as a lightning round.
Lightning round.
Because, as I mentioned up there, the past couple of weeks have been a little ridiculous around here. Apart from recording conditions being less than absolutely ideal, I have been kind of stressed out by some work stuff and some home improvement stuff, and after this episode posts, I'm taking a little time to sort through some files and stuff that got wet while the only thing that's keeping the rain out for a couple of weeks was a tarp. Once they got our roof properly shingled, I dug in and resealed everywhere water had gotten in and sprayed everything down with mold killers so that space will be safe once again for storage, but it's a great opportunity to just go through stuff and declutter as well, so that'll be next. For now, here's what I've been watching. A coworker was shocked to discover I'd never watched Will Smith in the 2007 production of I Am Legend. I remembered watching the first half hour of it once, and I'd already seen Charlton Heston and Omega Man at some point or another, so I stopped. Smith does a great job with this character, and it's a nuanced portrayal of mental illness and survival, but there's stuff that really doesn't work for me, and quick edit, I notice I can't do it justice and stick to the lightning round I'm going for here, so if it comes up again, it's a very well done movie exploring a topic I'm not really seeking out right now and relies a little too heavily on coincidence, but yeah, it also has some great acting and tugs at some deep feels. Well done, just not feeling it right now in 2020 somehow. I also saw Heaven is for Real from 2014 because I was just not able to, and wow, they got Margot Martindale and Thomas Hayden Church in this thing. Well, I guess it's better than I thought it would be. People are not deciding whether to watch a movie like Heaven is for Real based on my say-so. Pandering! Sorry, trying to keep my Tourette's under control. Fatuous! Damn, I'm usually able to edit those out, my apologies. I'll say it slow. I wish everyone in this story well, but just because someone writes a book doesn't mean we have to make a movie. I finished watching the sci-fi rebroadcast of the first season of a Netflix production of DC Comics' Harley Quinn, and I friggin' loved it. They were able to build some seriously strong character work into something that could have come off as just wacky and vulgar for the hell of it. Despite the violence and swears, it's a world you would have no trouble at all seeing Batman walking through, just mostly the parts he'd avoid, and I respect that. The first season closed on something of a cliffhanger, so I'd love if they aired season 2, but I'm not seeking it out. If we get it, we get it. A couple of summer returns. I saw a new Alienist Adventure starting up. I've got that recorded. Looking forward to watching it. Dakota Fanning and Daniel Bruhl reprise their characters from TNT's short-run episodic in 2018 in The Alienist, Angel of Darkness. I believe I've read this one as well. I do remember enjoying it. I hope they can do a little bit better with the pacing this time. I guess we'll see. Also back, I've seen 3 episodes now of the 3rd season of the FXX animation bomb, Cake. This season doesn't seem to include much live-action stuff, which is fine. It's just now they're also including whatever Adult Swim passed on for their 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. time slots. Be fair, this season did also include an animated short featuring a mysterious figure lurking the city streets, shot multiple times by police for being scary and then turns out to be harmless. Poignant, if sad. The recurrent through-line story for this season appears to be a John Hodgman, David Reese interpretation of maladjusted investigators pursuing Scooby-Doo mysteries largely without the paranormal aspect in a town nicknamed Dicktown. I've only seen 3 episodes and it's already better than Oh Jerome No and Shark Lords. For sure, so far enjoying this one. I feel like I stopped watching Castle by the end of Season 4, so when I saw that they were airing the Season 5 opener somewhere, I decided to check it out. I quickly realized I wasn't going to need to. There's definitely a reason I stopped watching this show, but I enjoyed watching Nathan Fillion and Jenna Katic's chemistry as they set the stage for this next layer of investigation into who killed Kate's mother, at which point I was like, oh yeah, this whole thing some more, and also nope, and also seriously, and then it was over. So that's where that blip on disc X330 came from. Oh, I saw this really cool 2-hour documentary on Prince they ran on Reels called Prince, When Doves Cry. They put it together in 2017. I enjoyed the glimpse into the life of someone so creative and uncompromising and also so private. The commentary they pulled in, the voices they included from those who knew him best, you got the sense of how alone and sometimes isolated he must have felt, but he managed to stage such high-energy productions, including some movies, and without the kind of support structures so many of us just take for granted. It's just an incredible legacy. I wanted to talk about something I'd seen on FX Movie Channel's Retro series. They aired a 1944 production of The Lodger, a black-and-white exploration of the unsolved Jack the Ripper exploits. The storytelling was broad, but there was a scene toward the end where the suspect was climbing along a catwalk in a theater, lit from beneath and highly kinetic. I felt really stood out in making him a menacing creature. A lot of thought and craft went into that scene, so much that was not present elsewhere in the film that would have improved it. That one, along with the Boston Strangler from 1968, I've got some decent true crime pieces in my collection, though I'm fairly certain that one is already in my classic collection somewhere, just waiting to turn up. I encountered several episodes of The Twilight Zone I felt that would be fun to have. One where 1890s Buster Keaton travels a few decades into his future and can't get back fast enough. One where a bully brings a piano and seems to reveal people's secrets. He has a good time with it until he reveals his. There's one where a wealthy megalomaniac is willing to destroy the whole world if people don't say nice things about him, but that's entirely unrelatable, I'm sure, and one where a crabby so-and-so gets to experience his own rotten personality from everyone he meets. Oh, Rod, how do you come up with these? I did say lightning round. It's getting super late here, so this last bit will be rapid fire. Disturbia. Jimmy Stewart was better than Shia LaBeouf, but the movie itself was stronger than Rear Window. The 2015 Fantastic Four was better than either the 2005 or 2007 Kitty Winky versions I saw. Better writing, better acting, better effects, better stakes. It's just a solid show. Braven, lumberjack Jason Momoa with his shirt off in the Pacific Northwest. How's that going to be bad? Before I Go to Sleep, Nicole Kidman meets Memento meets Gaslight. What's not to love? Dark Tower. Great show, great story, very well done, everyone. I should have a lot more to say about this one. Stephen King's story about the minds of children being used to unlock the gates of hell, and one deeply intuitive boy teaming with Idris freaking Elba to defeat Matthew McConaughey. I know, rapid fire, but this was brilliant, absolutely fantastic from the opening scene onward. Truly, well done, everyone. That was a trip. And I'm sure I've got so much more to say about so very much more, but it's all just going to have to wait until I address some of these projects around here and can focus on this properly once more. Lots going on. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out my video cataloging project. You can check out my catalog listing along with audio links at VideoFuzzy.blogspot.com, past episodes at Apple Podcasts. Feedback is always appreciated. You can contact me through my blog or podcast sites via email or through my VideoFuzzy page on Facebook, or you can follow me at TJ VideoFuzzy on Twitter. For VideoFuzzy, I'm Terry J. Aman. Happy viewing.
It might be amazing, it might just be scuzzy. We'll find out for sure the next video, Fuzzy.